Hey guys, every once in a while I like to post some thoughts, take a cue from my friend Uwam Ekpenyong, who has been video diarying his first 100 days of this year. Very inspirational, by the way, Uwam. In our church today, Wesley spoke at King's Church, D.C., and he spoke on the idea of God judges us. And if you only have a little bit of time, I'll just give you my bottom line up front, my bluff, which is it's harder to get Sodom out of Lot than it is to get Lot out of Sodom. So I'm becoming increasingly convinced that Abraham is the only reason that God pulls Lot out of Sodom. In the previous chapter, Adonai and his two angels, we'll call them, show up, and he divulges to Abraham what he's going to do. And Abraham gets in this negotiation, for lack of a better word, of he says that if you can find 50, maybe there are 50 righteous people in the city, will you actually sweep the place away and not forgive it for the sake of 50 righteous who are there? Far be it from you to do such a thing, to kill the righteous along with the wicked. He says, shouldn't the judge of all the earth do what is just? So he's appealing. I think Abraham believes that Lot is a godly person or a righteous person. And so he's pleading on Lot's behalf, afraid that Lot's going to be lumped in with the rest of the Sodomites and Gomorrites. But I'm increasingly convinced that the only reason God does pull Lot out is because of Abraham's commitment or affinity with Lot. We see that Lot parks himself facing Sodom when they're the Abraham and the Lot workers are getting too close for comfort, and they're arguing. So Abraham tells Lot, go left or right. They're facing east. He says, go left or go right. And I'll go the other direction. But Lot decides to go forward, which is east. And so he parks himself at the door of Sodom and Gomorrah. Later on, we see in chapter 19 that he's in the gates of Sodom, which means he's a leader. And so he chose to put himself. We don't know why. We don't know whether he was just enamored by what he saw or if he was really trying to make a difference. It's really hard to tell. All we know is he became a leader in that town. And so when the angels show up, only the two of the angels show up, and this is where they try to stay in the square, as it's custom to do. Lot pulls them in, and then the men of the city want to bang down the door to have sex with these two men. And so we see glimpses of Lot. We see he's a righteous man in the sense that he knows this is wicked and this is wrong. And so he pulls them in, and the angels actually blind him. Now, he's getting ready to leave. Excuse me, I take that back. The angels want him to leave, but there's some dilly-dallying, and I don't think that's in my Bible or yours, but there is some dilly-dallying that goes on, that he chooses to not leave immediately. As a matter of fact, it says that his two sons-in-law actually didn't believe him and thought that he was jesting or that he was joking. And so there's this degree of maybe Lot's wrestling internally what this means to leave it permanently, just for a season or what. But the angels let him know, no, we're going to destroy the city. And so he has a hard time living. Oh, there it is. In my version, dallied is, not dilly, but dally is there. But he dallied, so the men took hold of his hand, his wife's hand, and his hand of his two daughters, and led them, leaving outside the city. And so there's this degree, I'm sure it's very difficult for Lot, for whatever reason, to leave Sodom. He began leading there, and then we see that as they're leaving, he's actually kind of negotiating with the angel. They want him to go far away. He says, no, let's just go to Zoar, this little tiny town. And so they let them do that. But the problem is that his wife turns back to in verse 26 of chapter 19. His wife looked back from behind him, and she became a column of salt. And so I think the implication, not that she was just looking back as where do we come from, I think there's probably a longing there that even in Lot set his tent towards Sodom, there's a longing for something there. Now, Sodom is known for two things. One is its inhospitableness, making words up. So that's one of it. I think Ezekiel talks about that, and then Jude talks about the sexual immorality. And so I would probably say that captures well just what Sodom's sins was inhospitable in that kind of culture. Hospitality was a premium. As a matter of fact, Lot volunteers his 2 virgin daughters to the people outside to have sex with, as opposed to the visitors. Like Wesley said today, I don't think I can comprehend that, having 2 daughters myself. But the idea of hospitality was very strong. And so with that being said, he leaves. I think his wife is longingly looks back, and she turns into a pillar of salt. Now, Lot does not stay in Zoar. He ends up moving on to a cave in the middle of nowhere. And so he goes to this cave, and his 2 daughters is all he has left. And both of them get him drunk and both sleep with him so that they have children of their own. And so that's surprising, but it's not surprising. It's surprising that the depravity that some people have. That's surprising. But it's not surprising considering where they came from. They came from a city where every man in the city was beating down the door to get access to these 2 men that came to visit. So if you park in a place where that's the kind of environment you live in, you cannot help but be affected in some way. The closer you get to a fire, the stronger the heat you're going to feel on your face. And so it's not surprising that his 2 daughters, grown up in that kind of environment, have those kinds of thoughts. And so I really appreciated them preaching today that God judges us, and that God is a righteous judge, and that Abraham is right when he says that the judge, shouldn't the judge of all the earth do what is just? And God does do what is just, but he has given us an out with his son. And so I'm real thankful that even though I have depraved thoughts in my mind that rival these kinds of actions that we see in the Old Testament, that I am saved, and that as a result of that, I'm being transformed day in, day out by choosing to put in front of my face in a daily basis the God's Word, and let that be the fire, and let me feel the heat from on my face that comes from that fire. So just a word of encouragement that God is a just God, and thankfully he's not fully just, in that he gives us a way to be redeemed and to be reconciled to him. So thanks for, if you got this far, you're a trooper. So thanks for listening. Hope you have a good one. Bye-bye.